Well, good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday. We're in the last week of June. I figured this morning I'd start off by taking a look at the general flow of things. So this is just an average or a mean look at the 500 millibar level from yesterday, from last night through the 29th. So it's a week of what the 500 millibar on average will look like. And this is generally considered to be a good approximation of the jet stream flow, the mean flow of things. And the first thing that sticks out is this heat wave in the northeast and the eastern part of the U.S. And the colors just mean it's a little abnormally high for what you would expect this time of year. So this is a ridge of high pressure right here, and you're not really going to get any organized thunderstorm activity under here. Now, sometimes you notice there's a little trough right here, and at this latitude, this far south, these troughs are actually inverted. They point north. So there's a little weakness down here that will let some thunderstorms develop in the southeast. And then there's generally a trough in the west. And of course, the 500 millibar flow, the jet stream, separates the warm from the cool. So it's a little cool up here and pretty hot right here. And the jet stream flows as an answer to the difference in temperature. Now, on the dew point, it's been very interesting that on average over the next 7 days here, New Mexico, parts of West Texas, northern Mexico, abnormally high dew point levels. That's a reflection of the fact that we have a flow, and it's related to that 500 millibar chart I just showed you that is encouraging higher dew points from the Gulf to go, more westward than they normally would. If you're familiar with something called the dry line, the average position of that is here. And in spring, a lot of times that's here or even out here somewhere. So that's kind of the beginning of part one of a monsoon season that they expect in the southwestern U.S. And notice there's kind of an arc of moisture that goes up here and ends up in the Great Lakes states and up in New England. So that's going to be the pattern that defines severe weather basically for the next week. So on the visible satellite, sure enough, exactly where I showed you those anomalous dew points is exactly where there is a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity that arcs like this, and that's going to move around a little bit and see this kind of puffy cumulus clouds down here leading to some showers. That type of activity is going to be expected over the next couple of days to erupt more over the southeastern U.S. On current radar, and you should expect this, the showers and thunderstorms, not severe, in Iowa, northern Missouri, stretching all the way back to parts of New Mexico where there is a flood watch in effect. Now, on the severe weather outlooks for today, a level 2 out of 5, which is what is known as a slight risk of severe storms, in a little arc there from eastern Wyoming down to Denver and parts of Nebraska too, and then a very elongated area of level 1. The severe weather threat is not fantastic in level 1. It's there and needs to be acknowledged, but it's no tornadoes in that. When you say no tornadoes, it's extremely unlikely, but there's always a chance that one thunderstorm could produce an anomalous tornado, but the actual outlook for them is not there. It's only in that area of slight risk, which is the 2% within 25-mile category of a tornado in that same general area as the slight risk. On Nadocast, almost complete agreement with that. And I got to move that label. So the dark green is 2% and the lighter green is 5%. So they're a little bit more gung-ho on a possible tornado in parts of Wyoming and around the Denver area too. If we take a look at CSU's outlook here for today, same agreement on the tornadoes, not as extensive, and just kind of a smattering of hail possibilities out there. High winds are more in connection with the storms that may form in the northeast, it appears. Now, the forecast for Wednesday, again, this kind of stretched out area of severe weather, in complete agreement with the circulation going around that high. And then you notice this level 2 stuff down here in the Carolinas and in the Panhandle region of Florida. That's a reflection of the fact that we have these instability showers and storms, which are generally not tornado producers. In fact, there's no tornado risk there at all tomorrow. I don't think, not much of one. But hail, yeah, but high winds mostly, especially when thunderstorms like that collapse. They're not in a high shear environment, so these storms tend to go up and come down, and when they come down, sometimes they just create a wind gust that can be damaging in many areas. Let's take a look at what the model thinks about showers and thunderstorms, and we kind of focused on this area here where the slight risk is for today. And you'll see the flooding possibilities there in New Mexico, and then some of these isolated supercells that could be developing there, and kind of a scattering again through the day tonight and through tomorrow. We're getting that area of level 1 popping up. Again, not a great risk. In fact, some of those thunderstorms are just off the projection there in southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, a very typical pattern for this time of year. Moving forward to Thursday, the tornado risk shifts from here back over to here, so northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin and South Dakota. And like I said, this is the wind probability down here, and notice how that's maximized in the Carolinas. So that's those collapsing thunderstorms I was talking about, and there's some hail possibilities there too. This can be hard to come by really large hail because the upper level temperatures are very warm, and that's just not favorable for tornadoes at all. Taking a look at finally Thursdays, the whole system kind of weakens a little bit. So level 1, so that's just kind of a marginal risk of severe weather in those areas, so nothing to get too concerned about. And, when you're 3 days out, there will be room for tweaking, and there might be an area that gets a slight risk category, but I don't think it's going much above that. The tornado risk on Thursday has just been shifting in this direction along with the jet stream flow, little disturbances moving along that. For large-scale tornado production, you do need surface low pressure. You need something to alter the surface winds in a large way to get large-scale possibilities of tornadoes. And in the summer, those just become more and more rare, really. But if you're going to find them, they're going to be in the northern plains. Practically no hail risk indicated on Thursday, and wind risk, again, would line both segments of thunderstorms. You saw some of that on that loop I showed you. And then in Virginia, there's a little other part that could happen. Again, these are pretty low risks areas. And then, interestingly, on Friday, day 4, the SPC did go ahead and highlight from Nebraska straight through the heart of South Dakota and North Dakota, a 15% chance of any severe weather within 25 miles. The Colorado State University model agrees with that, just doesn't take, actually takes it just about as far south, really. And in fact, that's the outlook that SPC has, and that's their assessment of it. That's a machine learning model, so pretty good agreement there. And then going ahead to Saturday, everything stretches out across the northern plains in a very predictable way. On Sunday, the same result. And finally, on day 7, we have kind of a lessening of severe weather, but I expect that because at this distance, the clarity begins to decrease a little bit. Now, here's that supercell composite. That's kind of a summary of what I just said. So it shows the greater likelihood of supercell storms in those same areas where the slight risk is today, that stretched out area. So very much in calling there. Notice there's a couple of supercells that are possible in the southeast, but those thunderstorm producers are maybe not necessarily supercells. They're just very strong thunderstorms, again, that kind of collapse on themselves. July 1st through the 7th, Northern Plains is the ticket. And then finally, the middle of July already on the outlook. And this is kind of interesting in that the supercells drop southward quite a bit. So we'll see if that trend continues for the middle part of July. That would be a little unusual. But this has been an unusual year. So, we'll see what those long-range models, what they stick to, and whether that actually comes true. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.